Welcome to Woodshop 101, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Now meet the yin and yang of woodworking and the lady that keeps them in line, Jeremy, Drew, and Sam.
Welcome to episode 58. Today we're going to talk about oily rags, router bits, and handyman books. We are joined tonight by our guest host, Todd Clippinger of the American Craftsman Workshop. What's going on, Todd?
Oh, just excited to be here and hanging out with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Yeah, I love talking woodworking with you guys, man.
So, well, it felt like that was never going to happen tonight since we've had nothing but
I
troubles
know.
with speed. So,
Who told him that we were going to talk about woodworking? I thought this was the makeup edition.
Yeah. Drew, have you seen the latest review in iTunes that somebody said, when you guys start talking woodworking again, I'll come back and listen?
Maybe we ought to just not talk about woodworking or something.
Yeah. Maybe that person will never come back and listen. and here's my thing. So this review said, when you start talking about woodworking, I'll start listening again. Well, if you're not listening to us, how are you going to know that we're talking woodworking?
That's right. And that poses quite a problem.
Exactly. And instead of blasting us on Facebook or on iTunes review, why don't you email us and give us feedback? So clearly they're not going to hear this because they're not listening anymore.
On that note,
yeah.
Even if he was listening, he won't be now. So, all right. Well, what's
found a new audience.
Exactly. So what's going on in you guys' shops?
Well, I am putting the finishing touches on Hannah's first project video ever. This is like 100% her.
I saw you posted on Instagram that she was building a project. What was that project?
It is a wine bottle bird feeder.
Oh no!
So
that's cool.
It basically holds an inverted wine bottle, and the way the bracket's made just kind of keeps it in place, and it dumps feed into a little tray down at the bottom, and then it just kind of self feeds until the feed is all gone.
Oh well, that's cool.
Yeah,
well, how old is she?
5.
Yeah. When did you get it? When did you start having them build your kids?
Well, she kind of got in the shop with me last year, Father's Day, to do the butterfly house, but she just kind of helped me do minimal things that I was okay with her doing, and it was building the project was mainly me. But this time, she is doing all the talking. She is doing the tool work. And with the bigger tools, I am right there assisting her and kind of guiding her.
Sure.
But for the most part, this is probably like 80% her.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I know I get the grandkids in the shop, and I start them, they like between 2.5 and 3 years old, running a hot glue gun and gluing stuff together. And the one rule I have is no crying in the shop.
Yeah, that's what I told her too.
So they obviously here's what's cool. The hot glue gun. Now this is going to raise some hackles out there, I'm sure, of some of the safety police. The hot glue gun definitely hurts when you get hot glue on you, but it's not enough to injure them so much, if you know what I mean. So I feel comfortable with the fact that they're going to get some hot glue on them. They're going to cry, and I let them cry, but I tell them they can't cry in the shop. And so if it's cold out, they can go stick their hand in the snow, or during warmer weather, we have water in the dog bucket, outside. They can go stick their hand in that, and they'll come back, and they'll want to come in the shop, but they're crying. And I'll say, you can't cry in the shop. And they'll stand outside the door, and they'll suck it up so they can come back in the shop. So I don't deny them to express themselves, but I also just have the rule: you can't cry in the shop. So they do learn respect for the tools. I mean, as horrible as it all sounds, They learn respect for the tools, and they just get over it, and they come in and they start building again, and it's all good. So. But
yeah, that's what I would tell her. I was just like, you can't be jumping around, you can't be playing. You need to respect these tools. You need to pay attention. And when I tell you to do something, you better do it.
Yeah. Well, do you have a laser on your miter saw?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the kids will mark the board and they'll set it on the miter saw. And line it up with the laser. They'll line the cut up with the laser, and then I make the cut and give it to them, and then they put it together. So
that works.
Does our new
it. What's that?
Does our new miter saw, Drew, have a laser on it?
Yeah.
Really?
You have to turn it. There's a switch on the handle that you have to turn it on.
I mean, I got to get it out of the box and put it together first.
Did you get one of the Ryobis?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Oh, okay, because that's what you got, wasn't it, Drew? The Ryobi? Okay. Yeah, mine's recently. An old the Hitachi C10 FSH. I mean, it's been around for years. In fact, mine's got to be 12 years old. But the laser on it's like super accurate.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the laser because I've never had one, and if I did, the laser was located in such a place that all the pitch from the wood would just clog it up, and I was like, oh, screw it.
Oh, really? Which one was that? Was that a razor or something?
No, it was that Craftsman that I had for such a long time.
Okay.
The laser was located towards the back of the blade, and that was where all the shavings and dust was thrown at it. So it got clogged up really bad.
Oh, okay. They are kind of handy to have, though. For quick alignment, they, in a production environment especially, they really help. And then what was cool was the fact that it allows the grandkids to start laying out their wood, put it against the fence and lay it flat on the table and all that stuff. So it was a great way to get them involved with getting towards the bigger tools as well, and to understand how they function.
Yeah, and like I had got Hannah introduced to the miter saw, and had her stand up high enough to where she was able to put her hand up on the handle and hold the wood, and I was holding her hand on both just to keep her from maybe taking it off and moving it somewhere. I was like, nope, can't do that. So I was like right over her, and she learned how to cut the wood. So she's doing really well.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's good. My son wants to get in the shop, and he's been bugging me. But man, I feel like this weather here has killed me, and it's putting me way behind. Like I was telling you guys earlier, man, I'm not even sure when I'm going to be able to get my electrician out here now to get the shop wired up. And if I have no power in the shop, then have no shot.
Yeah, I work out of state, man.
So.
I've done a lot of work in Ohio, and I've done a lot of work in California.
I guess I'm gonna become a hand tool woodworker now.
That is an option, I guess.
I'm not a very good option for me. So I like my power. You can just go ahead and call me Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yep. I'm all about power tools too.
So, all right. Well, Todd, what's going on in your shop?
Oh, I got some cool things going on. I got to build some cabinet doors for a utility room for some clients I've done a lot of work for. Well, in fact, that project is in the same house that I built a DJ booth a few years ago for one of the local DJ guys. And but besides that, for their house, I'm also designing a remodel. So there might be a big remodel coming up, and they're working towards getting a loan so they can do all that. So we're designing some cool stuff with cabinetry and built-ins for them. And also, I got a gravity clock to build. I have a local guy that I've built several clock cabinets and displays and stuff for over the years. And he wants a gravity clock, a ramp for one of the gravity clocks that rolls down it. And so I'm building one of those. I just got a call on a sofa table for some old clients that I've worked for several times over the years. They just called a few days ago, and I mean, it's like it rains. When it rains, it pours, because then I also got, like, the next day, a local client that I've worked for before also called about a dining table. So the gravity clock project, the cabinet doors, those are a sure thing. The sofa table, probably 90% sure, and I got to go talk to the clients on the dining table. So pretty busy.
Oh, that sounds like
that must be nice.
Yeah, at least somebody's staying busy.
Yeah. And you know what's kind of cool? The dining table. Now, all these people I've worked for before, and almost all my work has come back around over the years. So I'm mostly working for people that I've worked for before. But the dining table call was for a guy. He played Major League Baseball, and he retired when he quit, he came back to Billings, where he's from. And what's pretty cool, I was just thinking about this after I talked to him. I've worked for 2 Major League Baseball players because I'm from Central Ohio originally. I worked on Tim Belcher's house, and he had a little farm kind of out of Sparta in Central Ohio there. And I've worked for Jeff Ballard, and both of them were pitchers. They both started playing ball like in '87. And Jeff Ballard played ball from '87 to '94, and Tim Belcher played '87 to 2000. And I don't know that they know each other, other than they probably know who each other are, because they never played on the same team, I guess. So, but I just thought that was kind of pretty wild that I've worked for 2 Major League Baseball players.
Did you get their autograph?
No. In fact, it was funny because when I worked for Jeff Ballard the first time, I didn't even, because I only lightly follow sports at all. But when I came home, I was telling my wife who I was this project, and she goes, "Well, who's the client?" Because she does a lot of catering, so she knows a lot of the people in town. And she goes, I said, "Well, it's Jeff Ballard." She goes, "Oh, well, he's the Major League Baseball player." I'm like, "Oh, really? Wow, I didn't even realize that."
You're like, yeah, I knew that.
He doesn't have baseball paraphernalia hanging out, on display in his house. He might have a man cave somewhere, but I didn't see it. So, so it's kind of cool.
So, well, like I said, when we first wrote the show notes, I said I was finally having the wiring done in the shop, and that's clearly been put to a standstill. So I guess what I'll be doing is doing my back porch, fixing that little bit of damage, and shingling part of the roof, which again pushes shop time off, and it's to the point that it's starting to eat at me pretty bad, and we're gonna have to do something pretty soon. If my electrician can't come out, I'm going to have to probably find somebody else, because I don't want to be floating into November and still not have a shop. That'd be 5 months without a shop, and I'm not okay with that. So, however,
that's pretty tough.
However, Drew, I do have wood on top of the table.
And for Sam's benefit, this wood is just sitting on top of the table. It is not jointed together. It is not joined together. It is just sitting on the table.
Yeah, what kind of wood is it?
Southern yellow pine.
Oh, okay.
So, Drew, technically you said it couldn't be cardboard and it had to hold food. It is not cardboard and it can hold food.
True.
There you go.
So,
but that was still for Sam's benefit.
Yeah.
Sam still has a running bet with you that I think has been surpassed already.
And it will surpass again on Saturday, because we extended it to the 15th. And now I'm going to owe her like a 5-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids. So
I think you owe her more than just a 5-pound bag.
So have you guys talked to her? Give us an update.
I talk to her every once in a while. She's been busy between work and school, and she's trying to hold on to her blog the best she can, and I think she gets about like a couple hours a week woodworking, and lately she's been working on redoing her dad's garage, and I talked to her, I don't know, a few days ago while I was in Gatlinburg, asking if I had any old license plates. So I'm going to send her a couple old license plates that I have for she's going to do like a surprise project for her dad with them. And I got some that are probably 40 years old that I've kind of had in the shop. I've been kind of toying around what I want to do with them, and I've had them for a while, and so I'm going to send her a couple, and I got a couple Coast Guard license plates and stuff like that I'm going to send her. But
that's cool.
That's what she's been up to. Seems like anytime I reach out to her and find out if she's able to record, she's gotten pretty busy. So one of these days we'll get.
It's tough. There's only 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
There's that. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing that if you look at any podcast or anybody that produces content, how many people, they start up and fall off, and including me. The problem is there's only 24 hours in the day, and I probably will work more of those than even a lot of people, and I still can't keep up.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I'm floating anywhere, especially now that the wife and the kids are back. I'm up at 5 a.m. and I'm probably not in bed until at least midnight every night, and I still don't get near the things I want accomplished. So
Yep. I know. Having kids really can slow you down.
Yeah.
Because when we have the granddaughter come up from Boise in the summer and stay with us for a few weeks, I mean, the whole dynamic of production changes in my shop.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, my son wants to get out there and build too, and he's actually taken on the real pride of like telling people like this is our family business. I get out there. It's not my dad's business. It's the family business. I help him.
That's cool. That is so cool.
So it gives me the push to get out there, but it's just I don't want to get out there and I can't really start organizing it, and because I need to get the power done, and they're gonna have to cut holes in some of the drywall and run. I'm getting a sub panel put in. And then having all new lights put in, and then I gotta have the drywall is gonna get patched from another guy, and he's gonna come in and repaint everything, so I at least have good solid white walls to record against.
Nice.
And so how it is, I have one outlet. I have two outlets. I have one that the opener's plugged into, and then I have another one in the front of the shop, but they're all on the same 15 amp circuit, and they blow anytime I try to do anything substantial.
Yep. Right.
So
you're gonna run 20 amp on everything then?
Yeah, I'm gonna have my sub panel is gonna be a 40 amp sub panel, and I'm thinking about upgrading it to a 60 before he actually installs it, just because I'm hoping in the next year to upgrade my table saw. So.
I'm not sure, and I'm not an electrician, but it seems like most of the panels I've dealt with, they were either 50, 100, 125, or 150, 200, but I've never heard of a 40 or a 68.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, you can. A sub panel can be, your main panel always it generally goes in whole numbers of 50 or 100, but sub panels can be. It's based off of, at least how he explained it, it's based off of the amount of circuits he puts in there. So he's putting in two 20 amp circuits, which would make that a 40 amp sub panel.
Okay, I get it.
At least that's how he explained it to me. I'm not real sure how that's the case. I mean, guy's been recommended by a bunch of people, so I'm comfortable with what he's doing, but.
Yeah,
we'll just have to see. I explained it to him exactly what I'd be running and what the most I would be running at any one time, and he said 40 amps should be plenty, and he's going to split those. He's going to do half the outlets on one 20 amp circuit and the other half on another 20 amp circuit. And so you should have plenty of power running it.
Right. So, what I did, and people, the listeners might find this very interesting. A lot of times, if you got 2 walls or 3 walls, the people will say, well, I'm going to run one circuit on this left wall, and I'm going to run one circuit on this right wall. Well, if you end up working mostly off of one wall, you're only using one circuit. But if you take 2 circuits and you put in the fourplex, so you got 2 outlets next to each other.
Yeah.
If you put in the fourplex or the dual duplex, then you run the left circuit. The left outlet is one circuit on both walls, and then the right outlet is the second circuit on both walls. So you could have 2 things plugged in, and as long as they're plugged in to the left and the right separately, you're on 2 separate circuits. So on my 2 main walls that I use, all the right outlets are one circuit, all the left outlets are a second circuit, and they're right next to each other, so I can plug in things next to each other and carry the load on 2 separate circuits, like if I got 2 guys working in here.
Okay. That's interesting. I think I'll probably talk to them about that. So I'm going to have, like how it is, I'm going to have 2, so I'm going to have, I guess one outlet's called a duplex outlet, right? It's got 2 plugs on it?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to have,
Yep.
I'm going to have 2 duplexes, one more in front of the shop,
Yep.
one towards the back. On my left wall, I'm going to have 2 put on the right wall. I'm going to have 1 put on the front wall because there's already one there. And then I'm going to have 1 more on the ceiling for my air filtration that's going to go up there. And I will probably talk to them about splitting that. So having the, like you said, 1 on each wall, both off of 2 different circuits, because I now that you said it, I did find myself, at least in my last shop, I was primarily working off of 2 separate walls, and one of them I don't think I plugged anything into them. So yeah.
And how did you set yours up, Drew?
Right now, mine is just the typical garage setup. It's only got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 plugs in it throughout. And I never changed the circuit wiring. I did have a 220 outlet put in, but I never really changed how the rest of it was done. I had the circuit panel replaced, the breaker panel replaced a while back, but I couldn't afford to have anything changed at that time. So really it's just set up how the house was wired to begin with. Luckily, it handles the load pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool.
And I don't, at any point, I think, being a newer house, it could have held the load, but for some reason, being such a new house, why would you only put 1 accessible outlet in the garage? That doesn't fathom.
Yeah, I got no idea. Yeah. Because when I remodel, I'm always upgrading the electrical situation, and I understand how people function, and the people usually complain, we don't have enough outlets here. So as a remodeling contractor, I'm always changing that, more to the way people actually use their, need to plug stuff in. So
yeah,
I'm a little more sensitive to the way people function than new construction.
Yeah, and I get it. A lot of new construction, their money is in how fast they can get the construction up, and
right, yeah.
And it could have been purely the person that built the house didn't want extra plugs in there. It could have been an upgrade option, and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't need them," or whatever. That could have been the case.
Oh, right, true.
It's all in how it is, and the fact I'm renting this space for 4 years, but in order to keep up my business, I'm gonna have to do this, and so, my landlord gave me the approval, but he's not gonna pay for any of it. So,
right.
Would he give you a break on any of the rent?
No, he.
What a jerk.
I mean, he's
probably no. I if you were saying, hey, the kitchen's a dive, can I remodel the kitchen, and you work it out, I'm sure that he would do that. But no, on an amenity like just being able to have extra lights and outlets in the garage, probably not.
No, and
I know I got spoiled from a renter the landlord that I rented from, because it seemed like anything that I wanted to do for the house, he would just say, we'll just take it out of the rent. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and a lot of that has been the case. Like the air conditioner, I'm gonna pay for it up front, but anything like ceiling fans, anything I put into the house, I told him, I said, I'm gonna take when I leave. I'll put it back how it was. I'm gonna take it when I leave, and I said I will give you the option to pay depreciated value on all of that when I go to leave. So if you want all the ceiling fans in every room that I have them, and you want the air conditioner that's out in the shop, and you want all these other things that I've done, we'll work out a deal, and and I'll leave them there. But I'm not going to do all this stuff. Now, I get things like wiring and outlets. I'm not going to take that out. But something like a mini split that's one small hole in the wall that can be patched, then I'm going to do that, So at least he's on board with that at some point in the future, I could recoup some of that money back. So.
Well, it's cool you got somebody that'll work with you on it.
Yeah, because most landlords wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So. All right.
Well, I see we had some questions that poured in here recently, and we thank you guys very much for that. I think what we'll do is we'll just go over each question and just, I guess, each of us kind of give our answer, and then we'll go to the next.
Yeah.
So, Todd, since you're the special guest, you get to go first. So,
special guest.
Special guest. But looks like Bubba's Woodworks sent us a question, and it is, what handyman books do you recommend? So take it away there, Todd.
Well, I wonder, because I was on MakerCast recently, and I was talking about how I started my business, and I literally, when I left Costco, I had no knowledge, zero skills, and I literally bought 2 handyman books, and I would sell jobs. People would call me. I put the word out, and people would call me. I'd go to their house, and they'd say, "Can you do this?" And I'd look at the job. I'd take some notes, and take my measurements, and then I'd say yes, and I'd go home and I'd read. I'd say, "I got to go get some materials, so I'll come back and start tomorrow." I would go home and read the books on how to do the job, and then I would go back and do it. So I'm sure that's probably where the question came from. And actually, the book that I started, the 2 books I started with back in the day, was a home DIY repair book. One was from Home Depot, which they still print, and it's been updated, of course, since I started back in '97. But the Home Depot Improvement 1, 2, 3, and the Stanley Complete Step-by-Step book of home repair and improvement. And I looked online, and it's like they still publish that one too, but it's upgraded as well. But and we'll have to leave links for these. But a couple of really, really good books that I actually have in my library and bought after those was Building Construction Illustrated by Francis Ching, and it's a really good book to understand how buildings are put together. And what was it? Residential Home Builders Construction Guide, and let's see, the 2 really good ones though are by Taunton Press, and they're the Visual Handbook of Building and Remodeling and Renovation 4th edition. And both of those, I see those in like Lowe's all the time. When you go into Lowe's, they got the book section, and the Renovation 4th edition is by Taunton, and Visual Handbook of Building and Remodeling is also published by Taunton, and they're both like really, really good books. And even though it seems like it's a little bit off track from woodworking, the fact is a lot of people, a lot of the woodworking that people want to do is not just freestanding furniture, but are built-ins to enhance the quality, and value of their home. And so to understand how your house is put together, I think you'll find those books very helpful.
Okay.
Man, did you have that all scripted? Because I don't remember half of what I was wanting to say.
Well, I did have to write it down, or I wouldn't have remembered.
I think I need a notebook next time we have Todd on.
Yeah. I need to take notes on what he's saying.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to leave links for him. But yeah, those are the books that we can have links to. They're very helpful books, and some of them you'll notice are more primary, basic stuff, and then some of them are a little bit more detailed. And I think that the listeners would find those books very helpful for understanding how their homes are put together, because it will help them with if they want to start doing cabinetry and built-ins and things like that, besides just freestanding furniture.
Oh, that's cool. And a lot of those the first couple that you had mentioned, like Handyman magazine and the Home Depot DIY 123. I got that book from my mother-in-law when I first got married to my wife, and I was sitting here thinking, what are you trying to tell me here? It's like, do I need to know all this?
Well, I gave my 2 books away when my sister bought her first house. I think I gave them both to her so that they could have an understanding of basically, how to fix basic things in their house.
Well, I can just see you going, to your client's house. Can you build this? Sure. Let me just go get some material. Yes. And then he goes home and then he's like, oh crap, Handyman he hadn't done an episode on that one yet. No articles, no nothing.
Yeah, I take measurements, and back in the day, before smartphones, I was taking a Polaroid camera, and I'd take reference photos with my Polaroid camera, and then I'd go out to my truck, and I'd go to the hardware store, and I'd read the books, and they would only have 2 or 3 pages on each item, and then I'd go in the hardware store with my photos, and I'd say, hey, I need to do this, and I'd show them the photos, and they would say, oh yeah, here's some of the products you need, and this is how you do it. And then I'd measure the information they gave me or add it to what I had just read. And the next day I'd go back and I'd do it. And I wasn't lying. They didn't ask me, have you done this before? They said, can you do this? And I said, yes. I wasn't lying. Of course, now the big joke is when I work for people, I'll say, man, it was a good thing I watched those YouTube videos on how to do this last night, which gives them a bit of a shocked face.
I commented on them and let them know that this was very helpful.
Yeah.
I remember my dad had a book that I tend to reference a lot whenever I was a kid, was How to Fix Damn Near Anything. And it was
Was that the name of the book?
Yeah, How to Fix Damn Near Anything.
Really? Oh,
and
that's interesting.
It was so old. I mean, it was a hardback book, but it was everything from how to fix a leaky faucet all the way up to changing an alternator in a car. I mean, it went over everything.
Yeah.
I used it a lot for fixing my bicycle whenever I was a kid.
Oh, that's cool though, because you learn to use reference information.
Yeah, and that's what I did growing up, because it helped me learn how to read like the Chilton and Haynes books to fix my vehicle whenever I needed to. So,
right.
It taught you how to read, Drew?
It did. Well, I had to learn some phonics first because saying alternator that was kind of difficult. Alternator.
Drew's hooked on phonics.
Oh yeah, how do you say lathe?
Lathe,
Jeremy. I think you usually say lathe.
Lathe.
Yeah.
Lathe.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like, Jeremy, lathe. Lathe.
What's the difference? Lathe. I mean, it's better than
Poplar.
Right. Yeah, that was another one. I was like, I forgot to write down in my show notes here, bust Jeremy's chops on pronunciations.
Lathe. It's a tool that spins wood. That's what that is. If you don't know what that is,
we didn't want the definition.
It's what Drew has that doesn't get used.
Hey, my bandsaw is the same way right now.
Well, so make your case even better there, Drew.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not getting criticized on how to say stuff.
Well, I'm gonna get me a Lathe book.
There you go. There it is. Jeremy's signature.
Lathe.
Like,
So did you?
that sounds
did
like
you
somebody's
have
name.
So then, Jeremy, did you have any books that you use like that?
Yeah. So growing up, I mean, I used the Chilton and the Haynes manuals for fixing my vehicles, and the last, I think, for about 2 or 3 years, maybe a little longer than that, my dad had bought me the subscription to Family Handyman for Christmas every year, and literally up until I moved, I had every single magazine. And when I moved, I went through. It took me like 3 days to go through every single one, and I picked okay, I want to keep that magazine. I want to keep that one. I'm gonna throw that one away. And then being subscribed to that magazine, I got sent several of their books, like 2015 Family Handyman Book of the Year or whatever, and I used some of those.
Oh yeah.
Which are pretty good. But kind of like you, I didn't really buy any books. I use Home Depot or Lowe's as my local library. So I'll go sit.
Which I bet they appreciate.
Yeah.
I'll go sit in there for like an hour or 2 hours, like looking through books, or like, oh man, I want to build a deck. So I'm going to go and I'm going to read every deck book in Lowe's and Home Depot. I'm not going to buy a book. I'm going to go read them, and then I'm going to leave. And if I need something, I'll come back to it, or I'll take a picture with my smartphone and leave. So
Jeremy's the reason why they took the benches out of the magazine area.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So little do you know, Lowe's and Home Depot is not a library. You can't check books out. I learned that. And in fact, in woodcraft as well, back in Houston, I'd walk in and they would tell me, all right, what do you need? You don't need to go sit down. Because they know I'd go to the magazine section and sit down and just read sharpening books and stuff. And I'm like, all right.
Here comes Jeremy. He's going to dog-ear all the books again.
Yeah.
Well, if they didn't want you to sit down and read, there shouldn't be a table with chairs back there with coffee.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but no. So I mean, I used. In fact, I think I have the Home Depot 1, 2, 3 book still. And so I condensed down from 5 or 6 boxes of books and magazines to one box. Not even one box, like a half of a small box with some magazines in it. I think probably 10 or 15 magazines of the Family Handyman, and then 1 or 2 of their books, and then the Home Depot 1, 2, 3 book. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna hold on to those. And I really think, I've been thinking I don't want to store stuff. I've been on this kick after I moved to not storing stuff. So I think I'm gonna find somebody that needs them, or try to sell them off for, pretty cheap to somebody that would use them. Just because now I'm at the point I don't know everything, but I'm pretty good that I can figure most things out without having to sit down and read through a book. Plus, most of those books I have are outdated. So I need to go back to my local library and sit down and read the new stuff. And when I say library, I need to go to my
You're
local...
actually going to go to the library?
No, I actually mean I'm going to Lowe's or Home Depot and read the new stuff.
You just call it a library.
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Or Barnes and Noble. That kind of became the new library for America.
That isn't a bad place. I mean, if you want to go relax, that's actually a pretty good place to go. You just get a coffee and sit down and read. I mean, it's actually kind of relaxing.
I mean, so most Barnes and Nobles have a Starbucks attached to them now. And come to find out,
right.
So one of my best friends works for, his wife is a manager for Starbucks, and the Starbucks that's inside of Barnes and Nobles is generally not owned. It's not owned by Starbucks. No. It's owned by Barnes and Nobles. The same things with the ones in Targets and all those other ones. So let's be real. They're making $10 or $15 off of you if you go buy coffee to sit down and read their books. They're making plenty of money off of you anyway. So why are they going to care if you sit down and treat their books like a library?
Yeah.
So
now, if you sit down and don't have a coffee, then there's something wrong. Get out of here.
Either get a coffee or leave now.
Yeah, this is not a library. Buy a coffee.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I would So I would definitely recommend if you're kind of on the fence, you're looking for a book, go to the book section of your local hardware store and kind of browse through and see which one more aligns with your style. Some have more pictures, some have more words. You got to kind of figure out what's good for you. Just so
if you're a guy, you want pictures.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just so happens now that the Home Depot 1-2-3 book was perfect for us three. So.
Yeah, lots of pictures. Well, that was pretty good. I kind of just followed Todd's advice. So let's see. Mcintyrefurniture sent us another one.
Yeah.
And
we'll start with Jeremy on this one. It said, "What is your favorite way to deal with oily rags?"
Me, I just usually ball them up and throw them in the trash can.
Oh, nice.
Is that not?
I knew that was coming.
Is that not the right way? No, I lay them out all over the concrete. Every once in a while, I catch myself like laying them over the top of like my scrap bin or something like that. But most of the time, I just lay them on the concrete when I'm done for the day, and then when I come back into the shop, I pick them up and throw them away after they've dried up. But as far as I know, that's really the best way to deal with it. Unless you want to go burn them, which I don't think is a good idea either. So,
well, if it's boiled linseed oil, you can wad it up and just let it do its thing.
True, and I mean, he did say oily rags, so I do throw some of my oily rags away.
Kim.
Who is it?
Kim McIntyre.
Okay.
For Mcintyrefurniture. It's a she.
Okay. Sorry, Kim, if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
She's super nice too.
Yeah, so some oily rags I throw away, my mineral oil rags and stuff like that won't ever dry. Throw those away. But if you're talking specifically like a varnish, yeah, let the rag just sit out on the concrete and dry. So.
I usually like to put something underneath it, so when it dries, it's all starched in that kind of shape, so you can put it anywhere you want.
Yeah. So.
Come on, that was funny.
I mean, you didn't specify a type of shape, so.
You could put it over a paint can. Usually, that's pretty interesting to see.
I mean, I have put rags in some weird places, and then like 2 months later, I'm like, "What's that dirty rag there?" I remember. I shouldn't have shoved it in the corner.
I used to put them in the house after they had dried and scare my mom with them. I'd stick them in the laundry hamper, and she'd be like, "Oh my God!"
That's pretty funny.
I love the smell. Like when a rag's got like stain or tongue oil or linseed oil or something. When it dries out, it gases off. Still, it has the smell of that oil. I love that smell. When you walk in the shop or whatever, and that's one of the smells of the wood shop.
Todd's over there in the corner huffing.
Yeah. With a rag on my face.
I love the oil.
It's the smell of shellac in the morning.
I actually have a friend, a great furniture maker that I've admired and kind of latched myself onto as a mentor locally, and he actually started a shop fire by leaving and forgetting about, he was using some oily rags and had left them on the table and they caught fire. So yeah, it really happens. And so I'm very cautious about making sure that I either take the rags and I lay them straight out. I completely unfold them and hang them over the side of the trash can because a lot of times I'm probably going to use them again. So I'll lay them back out, let them dry, and I can still pick them up, crinkle them up to kind of soften them and start using them again. But otherwise, I'm pretty good because my friend caught a little fire in his shop from oily rags. I'm definitely cautious about when I'm done with them. I know that I'm done with them, I'll put them in a bucket of water, wring them out, and then lay them out flat in the dumpster. Because I have a bigger dumpster, 2 cubic yard dumpster, and I'll put them in that laid out flat over the edge or something to dry.
Yeah, I've taken some extra precautions like that. I never did the water though. That's interesting. I might do that. That I guess gives you a little bit more of a safeguard.
Yeah, and because the thing is, if I throw that in the dumpster and it caught on fire and I could start a fire I'd have a freaking dumpster fire out here, which would not be cool. Then I'd be paying for a dumpster.
We have those every week in Oklahoma. You just start a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, I've taken some extra precaution and laid them out on the concrete. I try and keep them away from anything that I know will catch fire, if it does catch fire. So I'll put them out on the concrete outside underneath the patio or something that's covered. And if I know it's not going to rain or something the next day, then I usually leave it outside. Just an added safety measure.
For the most part, if they're laid out flat like that, or pulled out, stretched out flat, and completely open and hanging over the side of the trash can even, or laid out flat on the table when you go in for the night, they're not going to combust. If they're wadded up, they start generating heat within themselves because they're not drying out, and the metallic dryers within that, reacting with the oxygen, with it being wadded up, it generates heat within itself, and then it rapidly, exponentially, increases, and that's when it catches fire. So if it's laid out flat, it's not going to catch fire. The water might be a little overkill, but once again, it's just one of those things because of my friend starting the fire, I'm a little extra cautious about.
And if you guys haven't seen like an oily rag catch fire by itself, there's plenty of videos on YouTube that I've seen. One gentleman took just like a normal cotton cloth and put some boiled linseed oil on it and soaked it pretty good, and just wadded it up after rubbing it on some wood and put it in a cardboard box by itself and set the camera on it and just let it sit there, and it time lapsed for a good long while. I don't remember how long it was. This has been a long time since I've seen it. But it did eventually just spontaneously combust, and catch that cardboard box on fire.
I've never watched any of those videos. The combustion videos, I've never watched any of them.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing one, and I think it was just because it was a recommended video, and it's like, hey, you would like this. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah?
And sure enough, it was one of those combustible rags.
Part of the Pyromania collection, videos you'd like.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of fire videos, do you, Drew?
If you like destruction, check this out.
Yeah.
Here, I will kind of expand this question a little bit. What kind of rags do you use for your oil applications?
I use T-shirts, old T-shirts.
I use
something soft cotton.
I use blue shop towels.
Like the ones on the roll?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I use some of those too, definitely.
But I found it cheaper to buy them like when they come in like the box. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's like the blue paper towels.
See, I've done, I guess, a combination of them all. I've bought the Bagel rags before just to have some, just extra stuff like that. And then I've had T-shirts from Giving Blood, and I either outgrew them or the washer shrank them, something like that. And
do they give you a shirt when you give blood, or because you get blood all over your shirt you can no longer wear
it? the first one.
Okay.
Anytime you give blood, they give you a shirt. So I had an abundant collection of those. And after a while, I just cut them up into strips and use that for oil applications. But I have used the blue shop towels too.
I mean, I use my kids' clothes now. I mean, they get dirty anyway, so might as well just use.
Do they continue to wear them after you use them for oil?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you don't rip them into smaller rags, they can still wear them. I suppose.
Absolutely, they do still. I mean, my daughter does. My son's for the most part, grown out of the age of where his clothes are dirty all the time. My daughter, on the other hand, all the time, it's just dirty. So I might as well. I just put them back on her. Let her go. Nah, I over the years, that's one thing I've thought about. Like, instead of like giving away all these clothes or taking them to Goodwill, why did I not cut them up and use them?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing better than baby clothes. They're super soft. Most of them are like lint free and stuff. So
yeah, just cut the snaps off of them.
Yeah, I should have and never did. But I'm one of those people that I get something I like and I want to stick with it. And I've had pretty good results with the blue shop towel. So
yeah, my wife's got this box up in the closet that's marked sentimental. I can probably get a whole bunch out of that.
The wedding dress in there?
Yeah, probably.
There's a lot of material there. You get a lot of rags out of that.
Be putting some finish on, going, dang, these sequins.
Yeah, Drew. If you need to take a vacation anytime soon, you're more than welcome to come out here. Just don't tell April where I live.
And some of that netting, you could put it over a bucket and like strain the goobers out of your paint and finish.
Yeah. Or you can get like a really cool texture.
Is for.
You can get like a really cool texture with like stain with texture, Stain that like walnut dining room table that you're gonna build or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe paint that walnut dining room table. I don't know. So.
All right. Well, let's see where we at. Okay, we got one more, and I don't know who this one came from.
Same person.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Kim?
Yeah. Okay. And let's see. Do you ever sharpen your router bits or have them sent out to be sharpened? And I guess it's my turn. I haven't personally yet sent out my router bits to sharpen, mainly because the bits that I have aren't these high-end or super high-end bits from like Freud or that's the only one I can come up with at the moment. Mine have been Craftsman through this whole time, and
they're not Amana or Whiteside.
Yeah, definitely not.
Amana and Whiteside are kind of the premier bits.
Yeah, mine are definitely not that. I think it's more like, you can find some pocket change in the couch, you can go buy your router bit. Yay!
Right.
But if they get dull, I tend to just drop them in resin remover, like pitch and resin remover, and they sharpen right up after that.
Okay, let's expand this one a little bit, just real quick. Okay, we got saw blades, we got router bits, planer knives, or chisels and hand plane blades. Like, what do you sharpen and what do you send out?
I tend to sharpen my chisels.
Yeah.
The planer blades, I haven't sharpened those before, nor have I sent them out. Usually I just go buy new ones if I need them.
Are you talking like a 12-inch planer?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see what else. Like I said, the router bits, I haven't sent those out before. I usually just take the pitch off of them. And the saw blades, I've got some Freud saw blades, which is some of the nicer blades that I've had in the past. Like before, I would just buy these Craftsman professional ones, which aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
And I would just kind of run them into the ground until I just couldn't use them anymore, and then I just go buy some new ones. But now that I've got these Freuds, I'll send those out, which I have done once already. But I tend to keep the pitch off of them pretty often. I try not to run them very often. I'll probably take the pitch off of them about every month, if not sooner.
Yeah. Well, and that's a big part of keeping your blades and bits and everything sharper. Is router bits tend to build up heat and pitch, and the more pitch they build up, the more heat they build up, and then it escalates from there. And the same thing with saw blades as well. So that is pretty key to maintaining longer cutting edge.
Yeah.
What about you then, Jeremy?
So I'm kind of a mix. Like, I have some cheaper router bits that I just use until they get too dull. to really use anymore. In fact, there's a place up in just on the northern side of Gatlinburg, in either Pigeon Forge or I think it's called Severville. There's like a huge tool like outlet place or whatever, and they have these router bits. I think they're like $2 or $3 a piece, and I have a bunch of those. And they're cheap. Use them until they're dull. They're not carbide or anything, so once they're dull, they're dull. And I will probably, next time I'm up there, I'll probably grab a few more. Just more for your like one-off styles that you may not use very much. In my opinion, there's no reason to buy a high-end bit if you're not going to use it very often. But my more higher-end bits are CMT and Freud. And I haven't had to do anything to my CMT bits yet. And I don't, once I need to sharpen them, I don't know if I can send them to CMT or find somebody local. So that's something I'll have to look into. But definitely my Freud bits will be sent back to Freud, as well as my Freud table saw blades will be sent back to them. I pretty much am done using what I quote here is disposable saw blades, and that's your cheap $10 saw blades you pick up from your local store. So my chisels sharpen myself. I got a Work Sharp 3000. They sharpen them pretty good. Planer blades, I buy new ones because there's no way to sharpen mine. I have a helical head.
Oh, it's disposable. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I got a spiral head in mine.
Nice.
So I haven't had to do either. I have not had to replace any of them. I just rotate them. So, but at this point, I have a Steel City planer. I know a guy that can actually, he works in a machine shop, and they can actually cut new carbide blades for that planer.
For that cutter head, the little carbide cutters.
Yeah.
You can't buy those.
The Steel City's gone out of business, and they had like their own.
But they're not.
No, they're not just.
They did
generic.
They're not like a standard. Mm-mm. Oh, they're not. Okay.
No.
So you couldn't get carbide cutters from for another helical cutter head that would fit it.
No.
We've had this conversation.
Yeah, we did. And
can you just change out the cutter head and put a Helix cutter head in it then?
I don't know if they make one. But at that point, once that's probably a ways off. But once I'm done with that, like I'm probably gonna go ahead and upgrade to like probably like a 15-inch and get out of the lunchbox style.
Yep.
But
it's a big step up. It's a nice step up too.
But yeah, so to answer that question, I don't. The only thing I sharpen by hand is plane blades and chisels. I send everything else out, or I will once I need to do that. And I have a couple white side bits too that I will send out to once they get.
Those are nice. Those are premium. Yeah. So those are really good bits.
Here's another extension to that question. Where do you guys have a preferred place that you send? Is it a chain? Is it local? Out of state? I mean, where do you guys send?
I got a local guy. He does excellent. He does excellent work. And so my sharpening bill, like for last year, was $500 and some dollars, about $550, I think. And typically my annual sharpening bills run in about 200 range, 200 something, until I started doing a lot of reclaimed wood. And so my blades for my table saws, miter saws, all those I have him sharpen. Straight knife for planers and joiners, I have him sharpen. But of course I've gone to helical head cutters, so I don't have to have those sharpened anymore. And I sharpen my own chisels and plane knives for hand planes. Router bits, I don't typically my router bits, and I've got some nice white side, Namana and CMT. Typically I do like you guys. I keep them clean, and basically once they start to dull, they usually start to end up to, what I end up doing is I'm like, yeah, this is an older bit, and I end up having to do some man-made materials, and it kind of degrades the blade very rapidly, or the bit very rapidly during that project. And so that's kind of its last project use, and then I toss it and I buy a new one. So a lot of bits I have duplicates, and I have like one that's fresh and sharp that I stick with, wood, and then I have one that's not quite as sharp and it's a little bit run out a little bit. So I'll use that on man-made materials like particle board or MDF or plastics or whatever I'm dealing with, because as a contractor, I end up dealing with a lot more materials than just solid wood. So there's sort of a two-step process. When it's fresh and new, it gets used on wood. As it wears down, and I keep them cleaned, and as it wears down, I'll start using it on man-made materials, and then I toss it. Yeah. But and
I think
he only charges like $4. He charges $4 to sharpen, a lot of those profile, like a Roman OG or something like that router bit. But I just don't even have him do it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I will, at least for Freud, I'll send them back to Freud to have them done. I am, however, about to buy a new saw blade for my miter saw, and I'm going to buy, I think, a Woodworker 2. And
yeah, the Woodworker 2s are nice. The CMT General, man, those are awesome.
Yeah, and so
the Freuds I have a little bit of an issue with, because when you start getting some of the other blades, you'll start noticing that the Freud like fusion blades, their carbide is super brittle, and on that high ATB it doesn't hold up.
Yeah,
they chip really easy.
So, yeah, so I think I'm gonna go with a Woodworker 2, and if that's the case, I will start sending all my saw blades to Forest to sharpen, because they'll sharpen other manufacturers' blades to, like, so they'll sharpen a Freud blade to Freud specifications.
Right.
Which is nice. So then I don't have to, pay duplicate shipping bills to ship my blades to different outlets. So we'll see. As it plays out, I'm probably not going to have a sharpening bill this year because I didn't have a shop for 5 months out of the year. So
right.
I guess I'm saving
check
money
this
somewhere.
out. Based on the volume of reclaimed wood that I was milling last year, and I bought the jet planer with the Helix cutter head, and in the last half of the year, I estimate that I saved myself almost $600 in sharpening planer knives, because I was going through a set of planer knives a day, every day. Is how many planer knives? No kidding. I would mill for 2 or 3 days, and I'd go through a set every day, and my sharpening bill was $21 for the 15-inch, for 3 15-inch knives, and I was having multiple sets of blade sharpened every week, and I've been running now for 15 months. I think it is, the same cutting edge on the Helix cutter head. And not only have I done reclaimed wood, I've hit several knives. I still have hardly any nick trails, and I can still run cherry through. And here's the funny thing. I ran two railroad ties through this planer just a couple months ago, and it still cuts like the cut on it's amazing. Going to the carbide spiral head cutters, it's a world of a difference. They last so long, and straight carbide knives will not give the same cut or effect that the helical cutter heads do.
Yeah.
And my sharpening guy even told me that, knowing that he was going to lose my business, at least from my planer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny that you kind of led into that. So we'll go ahead and jump into what product and tool we're going to recommend this week. And Todd, you kind of took the lead on that. So talking about that cutter head, which one do you recommend?
Well, okay, so I have two tools with helical cutter heads. I have a Grizzly joiner, and it has the Grizzly helical cutter head. And then I also have and this is for comparison. I have the Jet 20-inch planer, and it has the Helix cutter head. And I highly recommend, if you can get a Helix cutter head in your equipment, get the Helix cutter head. There is a difference. The Grizzly cutter head, imagine the cutters, the little carbide cutters. There's 4 cutting edges, and as they get dull, you can rotate them. But on the Grizzly cutter head, a standard helical cutter head, the carbide cutters face straight down the bed of the planer or the joiner. On the Helix cutter head, and those cutters, they're perfectly square. But on the Helix cutter head, it's got the 4 carbide, the little carbide cutters with 4 cutting edges, but they got a slightly concave or convex cutting surface. So instead of being perfectly square, they're slightly rounded, and then they're arranged in the helical pattern with a slight skew to the setting. And I can't remember if it's like 3 or 5 degrees, but it dramatically enhances the cut. And it doesn't matter how gnarly the wood is, the cut that I'm getting off of that cutter head is absolutely amazing. So if you can get a Helix cutter head in your machinery, go for it. Just one more great example, buddy of mine, Mick Smith. A lot of times you'll see him in my Instagram. He's another local contractor here, and he kind of was watching me when I made my purchase of my 20-inch Jet with that Helix cutter head, and he decided he was looking at getting a 15-inch machine, and he decided to just put a Helix cutter head in his DeWalt 734 planer, and he said he got the same difference out of it. It's a whole new machine. It took him a day, to put that Helix cutter head in. But he's getting amazing cut quality results, and it's much quieter out of the Helix cutter head. So I'm all about Helix cutter heads now.
Yeah.
And they literally will pay for themselves, truly.
And it's funny that you said that, because Drew, you picked up a new planer recently, correct? You got the DeWalt 735.
Oh, you did?
Yep, 735.
Okay.
I picked it up from our intranet at work for $300, and it was 6 months old.
Yeah. So.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you've looked much into it, but so to replace a set of those knives is somewhere around like $50 a piece when you have to replace them. The Bird does make a Helix cutter head for that planer. Yes, it's costly. It's like $600 or $700, but
it'll pay for itself.
Dude, yeah. After running, just the helical head that I have in my Steel City, the night and day over straight blades. Like I never want to go back to straight blades ever.
Well, and that's the thing, is even the helical cutter heads are great, but the Helix cutter heads adds an extra dimension of supremacy to that cut that takes it even to the next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can get a helical cutter head, that's great. If you can get Helix, that's even better. And it literally will pay for itself.
So
yeah,
just let April listen to this segment of the show. Now you got the 735, right?
Yeah.
Drew, okay, so a buddy of mine that was helping me, another contractor that was helping me a lot doing all these reclaim projects. These were commercial projects, restaurants and stuff. So we're doing a large volume of stuff. And I said, this one I still had my 15-inch planer with the straight knives. I said, okay, well, we're dulling knives so fast. And I said, what if maybe we ought to try running the heavy initial planing through with the 15-inch planer, and then finish out with the 12-inch 735, because it produces such a nice cut, and compared to my old 733. So he brought it over, and one of the things that we ran into is, now this is a big difference too about a helical cutter head. Doesn't matter if it's a helical or just a straight helical or a Helix compared to straight knives. If you're doing a lot of reclaimed wood, a lot of times that wood, what I'm doing is I'm getting thicker boards, I'm resawing them in half, and then planing them down to about 3/8 inch thickness. A lot of reclaimed boards are twisted enough I can still cut, and I can still get two faces out of them, and then run them through the planer to get thickness. And straight knives will, as they dull, they start to beat the wood, they traumatize it, and the knots fall out. But my loss rate is dramatically lower with the helical or the Helix cutter head because of the way that the knife pattern does not beat the wood as each straight knife strikes. It just beats the wood, especially the duller it gets, the more it beats it, and it shocks the wood, and the knots fall out. So my loss rate was dramatically lower by going to the Helix cutter head. And one of the things we found out when we used the 735, because the ejection, all the debris goes through the fan. When you're losing knots, they go through the fan, and it's freaking traumatic, you know. And we had to stop using a 735. But when you change that out to a Helix cutter head, because you stop losing the knots so badly, and a lot of times what we have to do is we have to stabilize the knots with CA glue. And between stabilizing the knots with CA glue and going to the Helix cutter head, stuff passes through those fans a lot easier too. And if you got a Helix cutter head, and your fan will last. Otherwise, a lot of that debris going through is pretty hard on the fan. Because the cut, you know, each one of those little carbide cutters takes a smaller bite.
Yeah.
So the debris is a lot smaller. Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, the thing is, I really like that 735, but if you have the Helix cutter head in it, it performs a lot better for that reason than if you're just using the straight knives. So there's a reason if you think about going to the Helix cutter head, why it might help you out too. Besides, it literally will pay for itself over time.
Yeah, I might have to look into that, because now that I've got this planer and I know how good of a planer it is and can be, I was really considering upgrading the cutter head.
Yeah. Well, and it produces a beautiful cut when it's got sharp knives in it, because you got that slow feed rate. You can get 101 cuts per inch or something like that. And you know, there's between the two speed rates, you get dramatically more cuts per inch, you know, on the slow feed rate, and it produces a beautiful cut. But the carbide cutters last. I mean, look at the abuse I've been basically giving mine, and how long they last. Think how long the carbide cutters would last in your planer.
Yeah, true that.
You know,
I probably wouldn't have to buy any cutters forever.
Right. If I'm getting at least a year to a year and a half per cutting edge, and I rotate the cutters, you know, let's say I get I get 6 years per carbide cutter with all 4 cutting edges if I get a year and a half life out of each cutter.
Yeah.
You know, out of each cutting edge. You know, my helical cutter on my Grizzly, I'm getting 5.5 years per cutting edge. But keep in mind, on the joiner, it's used differently than the planer. The planer is one of the initial machines. The jointer is typically used after it runs across the table saw, so it's a clean edge. So the helical carbide cutters, I'm getting 5.5 years per cutting edge off that helical cutter head. You know, that alone pays for itself right there too.
Yeah, that might be something I'll have to look into for my joiner once I get it all redone. I've got to do some refurbishing work on it. But right. Yeah, I would like to upgrade those knives. Yeah.
Man, I went on a tangent there.
Yeah.
Hey, well,
sorry.
Look, I mean, you're
works.
You're passionate about that product. You're selling
I'm passionate about helical cutter heads.
So,
yeah,
it was almost a drinking game, wasn't it? Every time you hear helical cutter head, take a drink.
So, all right, Drew. What do you want to recommend?
I want to recommend the Fast Cap Lefty Righty tape measure. I actually found this very useful when I had my daughter out into the shop, because it was helping to teach her how to read a tape measure. And since the Fast Cap Lefty Righty has not only the incremental measurements listed very, very intricately, it's also on both sides of the tape measure, and it's right side up on either way you look at it. So she got a little bit of a lesson and a learning curve when it came to reading the tape measure, because before she couldn't read it, didn't know what they meant. And once I brought out that tape measure and I was pointing things out to her about what it is and how big it is, and she could actually see it in her head a little bit better. So she liked that tape measure. So that's basically her tape measure now. She's commandeered it in my shop. But I think it's a good learning tool for a young woodworker too that's doesn't know how to read a tape measure very well. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, it's good because I have one too.
Does cool stuff.
Absolutely, and I have one of those tape measures, and it's not just good for people starting out. It's good for anybody that spends a lot amount of time in the shop, because if you're looking at a tape measure and you're in the shop 4, 5, 6 hours, eventually those lines are going to start running together, and you're starting to now you're taking time because you got to read each tick mark. You got to count those tick marks, versus something like that's labeled pretty good. It's easier to read it, and it takes out less time. There's less chance for error. So it's labeled. Isn't it labeled down to the 8th? I think 8th inch. 8th, yeah. It's either 8th or 16th. I don't remember, but it's labeled pretty far down. And so by far, like, the fast cap tape measure is the only thing I have in my shop anymore. I think the 2 or the 3 other tape measures I've relocated. I got one in the house and one in each one of my vehicles. So when I need just like rough measurements, that's what I use. But anything in the shop is for tape measure wise, it would be fast cap. So.
Yeah, another cool thing that she likes about that particular tape measure, it's got a built-in pencil sharpener.
Yeah.
She likes sharpening her pencils.
Yeah. Is that the only one they put that sharpener on?
No, all of them. All their tape measures have a sharpener built into the body.
They daggone, it does. The only fast cap tape I have is the flat back for measuring curved stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. It has a sharpener on it. I didn't even know that.
Okay. So tattletale myself a little bit. So I knew that. Clearly, I just told you that.
Yeah.
Every time I'm in the shop and I'm looking for a sharpener, I forget that I have about 5 tape measures that have sharpeners built into them.
That's funny.
So, I can hear Todd just, oh my God, there it is.
It's got it.
What's funny is, I got tape measures all over the place, and they all work. If a tape measure gets broken, it's gone. As soon as it goes bad, it's gone. But the only fast cap one I have, and I really like it, and I actually look, the fast cap tapes, I like the little feature where you can write on them, but I haven't turned around and bought a bunch of other fast cap tape measures. But I like this flat back one because sometimes I have to run it around curved stuff to get an accurate measurement, and that's what it's really good for. But they do seem to make a nice tape measure. Yeah. And among other things, they do have some pretty cool, innovative items.
Yeah, they do.
So, and I buy everything from Fast Cap. Nobody gave me Fast Cap stuff. So.
Me neither.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can't say that they did sponsor me when I first started out, but.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
So they sent me.
Oh, cool.
They sent me pretty much their entire lineup of everything woodworking. I have so much fast cap stuff. It's unreal, but I've enjoyed all of it. There's small things like their drill bit system, their KISS drill bit system is a great system, but I wish they would make a brad point version of it. Versus your standard point. So
yeah. Well, I'm a big user of 2P10. I've been using 2P10. We have a local dealer that sells some fast cap items. My cabinet shop dealer, and I buy the big $32 bottles, that cost $32, $34 for a bottle of 2P10. I go through those. Oh, I got some other guys, some of the other contractors and woodworkers started using the 2P10, and they found out the hard way, and I didn't know this till they did it. If you leave 2P10 in your car in the summer, in the heat, it'll turn into a brick.
Really?
It totally yeah, the heat causes it to activate and it totally solidifies in the bottle.
That's crazy.
For real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't leave 2B10 out in the heat.
Nope, do not.
That's crazy.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna recommend a hand tool. I picked up a brass hammer from Dima Gaminunov.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Oh yeah, I got one of his first sets. I've had it for several months now. Granted, I hadn't been able to use it because I bought it. In fact, it came in the mail like a day or 2 days before I moved, so I haven't got to use it. But it's definitely pretty. And in fact, I sent him out. He was looking for some more exotic like blanks for his handles, and I sent him out a couple blanks to make a couple out of. And sure enough, he made them, and those were like the first two that sold out of his batch. So if you go back through and look through his pictures, see of his brass hammers that have a green and red hybrid handle on it, I sent him those, and so.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check like on Instagram.
Yeah.
You post those on Instagram?
Yeah, sure did. And so it's beautifully made. So I really enjoy it. I haven't got to use it very much, but I enjoy having it, and I know it's going to make a great addition to the shop. So he is taking a bit of a break on them. I talked to him about a week ago, I think. He said he does have some in stock, and he's still planning on making them. So if you want one, definitely reach out to him and pick one up before he decides that after making several hundred of these things that he's going to be done making them. So
wow,
yeah,
limited
I've been
run.
contemplating picking them up too.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think I paid less than $100, or maybe right at $100 shipped, but it's well worth it. The craftsmanship's done up pretty good on it, so it is it's worth a shot if you want one. So,
well, I'm looking. You didn't post it on your Instagram?
No, not the handle that I sent him. I think.
Oh no, but I was looking for the one that you bought from him.
I thought I posted it on Instagram. I don't remember. If I did, it would be a ways back. It would have been like back in, I don't know, sometime in May or June.
Oh, you might have, because
Yep.
I think I remember seeing. Okay,
I did. If you go back through my feed, you'll see a Lee Nielsen T-shirt, and it's just 2 or 3 pictures before that.
okay.
So it's
okay. Well, cool. Yeah, he does beautiful work. I think it's really cool. I mean, his hand tools, man, they're gorgeous.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, if you guys would like to support the show, you could head over to woodshop101podcast.com/listen. Find the show notes for today's episode, and there you'll find links for small one-time donations and some links for recurring donations. And if you can't donate monetarily, we'd really appreciate if you head over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating there. Getting those ratings really helps us reach more people. It puts us up higher ranked in iTunes algorithm. So at least go over there and leave us a 5-star. So at least
I can just
I was trying to do a subliminal message.
So go leave us a nice 5-star rating. We'd really appreciate that.
with constructive criticism.
Yes. Yes. If you're gonna leave us like 2 stars or 3-star rating, send us an email and let us know that, like, hey,
We suck or something.
yeah. or give us some feedback, like maybe something you want to see different, right? We've said from the very get-go, the show's about you guys. However you want it is how we will contemplate delivering it to you. So if there's
And
something
next
you want
week
included,
I was going to say next week we're going to talk about fingernail polish. So join in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it has acetone in it. That's legit. Woodworking.
There you go.
Well, they make shellac for your fingernails, so.
See, I don't see. That's woodworking related.
And look,
their fingernails.
I learned this because my wife went and paid $60 to have shellac put on her fingernails. When I said I'd do it in the shop for free. Should have liked that answer.
No, my wife wouldn't either. So. Well, this has been a fun show, and we appreciate having Todd on for the first time. And
Thank you.
Todd, before we go ahead and sign off, why don't you take just a couple minutes and tell everyone how they can go about reaching you and seeing your work?
You can find me at my website, AmericanCraftsmanWorkshop.com. You can find me on Instagram, American Craftsman Workshop. You can find me on Facebook at Todd Clippinger or American Craftsman Workshop.
So in case you missed that, it's American Craftsman Workshop.
Oh, and you can find me at YouTube at American Craftsman Workshop. I got some videos over there.
I'm glad you cleared that up. I was going to search Woodshop, and I would have been all kinds of screwed.
Yep. So, American Craftsman Workshop.
He does beautiful work, and the guy, as you can tell, is kind of a ham. So if you guys want to send Todd a message, I'm sure that he has a great contact section on his website that you can send him a message. And also, if you have a question for Todd that you want to have answered, you can send him a message on his website or through the Woodshop 101 podcast email, which is woodshop101podcast@gmail.com. And you can do the same for Jeremy and myself. So if you have any questions that you want to send to us individually, not only will we more than likely answer to you by email, but we'll more than likely take them to the show as well, because we need all the questions we can get here lately. So Jeremy's website is countrysideworkshop.com, and mine is rhwoodshop.com. And just go to the contact section, find our fancy page that you can fill out, and send us anything that you have. Also, that's redundant. We have a voicemail that you can call from any landline or cell phone or whatever that you have, and leave us a voicemail that we can put on air, which is an area code of 409-234-3959. We love having voicemails. Lets us hear your voice and personality, and we tend to answer those questions pretty frequently because those things are just fun to put on air. So that's pretty much it. So Todd, that was a good show for our first one. Even though we got
fun, guys.
Technical difficulties in the beginning.
Dude, I'm looking at the call recorder, and it's up to an hour 28.
Yeah, I know. We need to get up the air.
Yeah, that's all right. We've missed a show, so we're giving them a long show and a short show combined.
Hey, I think we put out a lot of information, though.
Yeah, so yes, hopefully that person that says woodworking is not what we discuss, they'll hear this episode and realize we discuss woodworking. We listen to his feedback.
Yeah.
Yep. But he won't know that because he doesn't listen now.
See, exactly.
The irony.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I'm sure that you've listened to us for a while. We tend to do a special sign-off that if you're familiar with my channel, you know what we do.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So
now, I got to say, we got to hit this because you're like, with guests, you haven't been nailing it. It's got to do 1, 2, 3, and hit it. No lag.
Let's hope there's not a lag.
Okay.
We should have practiced.
We should have practiced before we got on air.
Well, we didn't have that luxury, unfortunately. So basically, we guys want to wish you well. Thank you guys for listening so much. Be sure and drop us lines so we can answer your questions on future episodes. So from special guests Todd Clippinger, Jeremy, and myself, we want to wish you guys well. We'll talk to you on the next podcast. 1, 2, 3.
Boom!
Boom!